After reading Black Boy by Richard Wright and watching 13th, directed by Ava DuVernay, it is apparent that many parallels can be drawn between the two texts. 13th gives the audience a more broad and generalized timeline of the black population as a whole, and their struggles from post-Civil War era to modern day. Black Boy follows the development from child to adulthood of one specific African-American boy living in the southern states of the U.S. Events in this autobiography mainly occur in the early 1900s.
In both 13th and Black Boy, they talk about Jim Crow laws, how they caused hardships for black people, and how these hardships led to the eventual Great Migration.
The idea of Jim Crow laws came into effect after the Civil War in 1877 and lasted till 1965. These laws enforced racial segregation on both the state and local level in the southern United States. These laws were supposed to separate African Americans in a separate but equal way, however this was not the case.
Laws were passed that relegated African Americans to a permanent second-class status.
You see an example of Jim Crow laws by when Richard goes to the train station.
At last we were at the railroad station, and for the first time I noticed that there were two lines of people at the ticket window, a white line and a black line. During my visit at Granny's, a sense of the two races had been born in me with a sharp concreteness that would never die until
Jim Crow laws contributed to some hardships in the South. You could see this in 13th and Black Boy. Life in the South gave many black people hardships. It would be really difficult to find a job, get good education, or even be successful. This led on by Jim Crow laws and straight-up racism. An example from Black Boy is when Uncle Hoskins gets killed by a group of white men because he had a successful business, and another when a woman in Chapter 9 gets beaten up on the street, then gets accused of being drunk and arrested just for being black.
13th often talks about the hardships that the black population had to endure due to the white race believing they have superiority. This can be seen in Black Boy when Richard gets hit upside the head with a whiskey bottle by a white man only because he didn't say sir.
Oh no.
You're supposed to say sir!
A commonality between 13th and Black Boy is the depiction of African Americans as unable to express their own opinions.
An example in Black Boy was when Richard couldn't write his own graduation speech, but the principal had to write it for him.
I'm ready to read my speech.
You can't just say anything. There's gonna be white people there. I prepared the speech for you. These hardships caused the Great Migration, which is 6 million black people moving from the south to the north.
The Great Migration was very influential during the time between 1916 and 1917. 13th explains that this migration is the reason the black population in cities like Detroit and Chicago is so high. Many black families who could afford to move north did. This was seen in the first part of Black Boy as Richard's goal, so to speak. The whole reason Richard wanted to make money was so he could afford to move to the north, which was still racist, but not as much as the south. In Black Boy, the north represented opportunity and freedom to Richard. 13th also talks about how the black population did better in the north than they did in the south.
When comparing 13th and Black Boy, we can draw many parallels when it comes to Jim Crow laws,
Hardships black people endured,
And why many eventually migrated north.
Another example is of prejudice.
Jim Crow laws endured hardships. Jim Crow laws contributed, yeah. An example in Black Boy was,